Hi everyone, a big welcome. To Hello, I'm an author. Ask me anything. Time has literally flew past. We are right now in episode number 7 in our first season. So I'm really glad that all of you are able to join us this evening. Our topic for discussion is time mastery in times of crisis. Yep. And it is my big honor today to be able to invite two of our guest authors who are none other than Dr. Kumaran as well as Dr. Eugene. Would you like to say hello?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. So I want to thank Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene for investing your evening with us to share with us your expertise and your insights on the topic of time mastery. So I'm going to do a quick share screen. Give me a minute. Okay. Hi, Bruce. Hi, Angeline. Hi, Sunny. Thanks for joining us. We are into episode 7 of Hello, I'm an Author. Ask Me Anything, right? And tonight with us, our two guest authors are Dr. Kumaran as well as Dr. Eugene. They are the co-authors of the book Street Smart Strategies for Time Mastery, right? Before we start, we need your help. So first and foremost, it's important that if you have any burning questions on this topic on time mastery that you would like to ask our guest authors, please post your questions in the comment box, right? Then I'll be able to invite both of them to respond to your question. At the same time, learning is fun when we learn together. So it'd be great if you could help us to share this Facebook Live video to your own wall or to the groups that you belong to so that more people can watch this video together. All right. And likes are always welcome. So, okay, now the good news. Tonight, we are giving away 3 copies of the book Street Smart Strategies for Time Mastery, of course, written by our guest author, Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene. Each of this book is right now retailing at $15.90 per copy. So for tonight, for any of our viewers who post questions, it doesn't matter whether your questions is answered or not. As long as you post your questions, we are going to conduct a lucky draw after tonight's session. Then I'll contact you all individually if you are one of the lucky winners. Okay. So before we start, I would like to introduce our two guest authors. It is indeed my greatest honor to invite 2 doctors on our show this evening. Dr. Kumaran is a PhD doctor. Okay. Currently, he is a senior lecturer and course chair in the Nanyang Business School, NTU. He is also serving as the head and director of academic affairs and business development for Asia Pacific. And he is also the chief executive of a global leadership and organizational learning consulting firm. Dr. Kumaran has already authored 3 books, and he has got 2 edited chapters and over 50 scientific research articles and conference papers. He is also the editor and reviewer for various international journals. And lastly, he's frequently being invited as keynote speaker and speaker at local, regional, and global conferences. Right? So that was Dr. Kumaran. And now the next doctor, Dr. Eugene Tan. Dr. Eugene Tan is a medical doctor. He is a consultant dermatologist at the National Skin Center. He is also a co-author of 3 books and has published over 30 scientific research articles to date. He is also the chief editor of Journal of Business, Sciences and Technology. Similarly, Dr. Eugene Tan has often been frequently invited to speak at local and regional conferences as well. Okay, so that is our introduction for our 2 very established authors. And the good thing is that they have come together to co-author the book Street Smart Strategies for Time Mastery. And as you know, both of them are high achievers. They don't get to where they are today by being not good time managers. So I'm sure today we'll have a lot to learn from them. Okay. So the topic today is really about time mastery in times of crisis. With the COVID situation imposed on us in very short time, many of us actually found that we were all being forced in a way to start to work from home Yep, and kids were all starting their home-based learning as well, right? For a short while, I think many of us were probably feeling, wow, isn't that great? I don't have to travel to office anymore. I can't go out of the house to do my shopping anymore. I can't even have meetings with my colleagues anymore. We should have more time. Yep. But as day pass, I think many of you are feeling what I'm feeling too. I start to run out of time. I start to work later into the night. And I find that, oh man, 24 hours at home is not enough. So that's a very unique situation that we are in right now. And that's why we have this episode together with Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene Tan to help us and to share with us some tips and strategies on time mastery, on how we can actually reclaim our time back. Okay, so let's take a look. Do we have any questions? Give me a minute on the comments tab. Okay, and all right, thank you, Michael, for your comment, and thank you, Sam. Hi, thanks for joining us again. Yep, good. We have a question from Sam. Okay, so let me show Sam's question in a minute. And there you go. Yep. So Sam's question is, hi, thanks for sharing. What would you say is the top tip for busy professionals in the now, always on climate? Yeah, it's like, yeah, time, we're always being turned on right now. The line between work and life has been blurred. It's no longer before 6 o'clock is work, after 6 is life. So I think the line has really been blurred. So based on this question, maybe I can invite Dr. Kumaran to answer this question.
Yeah, thanks, Kokwa, for the wonderful introduction, and thanks, Sam, for that very important question. What is one of the tips, or one of the many tips that the busy professionals today, especially in the COVID situation or crisis, that one could focus on? So I'm going to touch on one very important aspect of strategy. I would say that right now, because the time or the situation is really blurred, right? So when we wake up, be it our kids, with our kids and our work itself. So one of the key things is about multitasking, right? There will be a lot needed in multitasking, doing a lot of things at one time. One of the very important strategy is to make sure that we actually focus by ensuring there are enough blocks. What do I mean by enough blocks? So the strategy is about not multitasking, but the ability of us to be able to plan the time per se for the day and able to understand different blocks. Let me give you a specific example. If you're a very busy professional, okay, and you have your kids, so especially in today's context, when we wake up and when we are staying put throughout, at home, so a lot of things are been blurred because we want to do a lot of things, and we would be probably sitting in front of the computer and continuing to do our stuff. So in order for us to be able to be clear, we probably have to plan out. So what do I mean by plan out? Having different blocks. For example, the first 2 hours, right? You want to focus on checking your emails, right? Making sure that your admin aspect of the day is settled. After that, you want to focus on something else. Maybe you want to write a report or focus on your kids' priorities. That would be another 1 or 2 hours. And then you want to cater some social time, for example, taking a break at the same time. By doing that, you have a tentative plan put forth. Especially in today's situation, we have a lot of disruptions coming in. For example, social media, we want to post, share our information on social media, WhatsApp. So we may be overwhelmed if we are not clear, especially in today's context, because we are at home and we want to be clear of where we want to put our energy. So that would be one of the very important strategy that I would say to start off with.
Right.
Especially for great professionals.
Yep. Well, that's a great tip. Yep. Basically creating blocks of protected time every day where you will only focus on specific tasks so that you make sure that it is more holistic rather than trying to not planning the time, and you very soon would find that time would fly past, right? And Dr. Eugene, do you have anything to add?
Oh yes, thank you, Kokwa, again for introducing us and inviting us to this session. And thank you, Sam, for your question. I'll say it's a very interesting question. There are so many tips that we'd like to share. It's a very big area, but one time management tip that always works for me is to follow on from Kumar's example and point about having blocks of time. So if you have this block of time, let's say 3 hours or 6 hours, how do you best manage it? And what works for me is that I will actually write down a list of things that I want to do with check boxes, and I make sure I write them down because I also have the option of typing them down in on the app, or let's say in the PC on a Microsoft Word document, but I find that actually writing them down is the most effective because the moment I go to my phone, there's a lot of distractions there. The moment I open my PC or I surf the internet, a lot of distractions there as well. So on a simple piece of paper, I think that's the cleanest and most effective. And out of these items that I list down, what I do is that I actually prioritize them. So I have items that are so-called most important or most urgent, and then I have the less important items as well. So I make sure that I actually do the most important one first, or sometimes I may do the most urgent one first, which may not necessarily be the most important, but it's something that is quick and easy. So it's like a low-hanging fruit, a quick win. And as I check them off throughout the day or throughout that time block, it gives me momentum, it gives me satisfaction, and I find that it's a very good way to manage these blocks of time.
Right. Okay. Thanks for your advice. So other than blocking out the time, we should really have a task list for each of these block of time as well. And as you take them off, you actually find a sense of achievement and motivation, right? Cool. Okay, if you have just joined us, hi Victor, hi Michelle. Yep, we are now with the co-authors of the book Street Smart Strategies for Time Mastery, and they are none other than Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene. Yep, both are very high achievers and they get to where they are today by managing their time very well. So a quick reminder, if you have any questions for any of them, please post your questions in the comment box. And also, 3 lucky winners will walk away with a copy of their book, okay? If you post a question, and we will conduct the lucky draw at the end of the session, okay? So remember, post your questions. Next, we have another question from Mike. Thank you, Mike. And his question is also what Dr. Kumaran spoke about earlier. How do you manage distractions? I think every day we are hit by so many distractions from up, down, center, left, right. Okay. Maybe I'll invite Dr. Eugene to share with us first.
Okay, no problem. So thank you, Mike, for this very interesting question. I think it's a very relevant question and it really affects a lot of us in our daily lives. So I would say there are many different kinds of distractions. For example, if you are working in an office setting with a lot of co-colleagues around you, they may somebody may just walk to your desk and ask you a question or ask you to do something. I think that's something you have to handle. You can't really sort of block them off or turn them away if you're working in this kind of environment. On the other hand, at home there can be many distractions as well. Sometimes your kids or someone in the family may come and talk to you or ask you questions or ask you to play with them. And also there are distractions that are self-induced or self-seeking kind of distractions. For example, you may be tempted to surf the internet, to look for the latest soccer news, or check the financial markets, things like that. So there are many, and respond to messages even. So many distractions that surround us. So one tip, Mike, is that when there's a distraction that you can control, especially if it's a self-seeking distraction, something that comes to your mind, I find it very useful to actually write it down. On that same piece of paper, I write it down, and I'll attend to it later, and I'll just focus on with my current work, because I find that if I keep it in my mind, actually it's a distraction. I lose focus, or I may even be tempted to go and do that thing, and this really disrupts my momentum, especially when I'm in the middle of a very important task. I feel that I'm in the flow. I wouldn't want to be distracted by random thoughts that come to my mind.
Okay. Wow, that's a simple and good tip. Yep, just writing it down would also help us to remember, so that we don't feel very anxious that we're going to forget about it and we start to act on the distractions, which then disrupt our flow. How about Dr. Kumaran? How do you handle distractions?
Right. Thanks, Mike, for asking this very interesting but very important question. I think it actually gets into our daily life. A very good example would be, for example, right now we are in a situation, especially in time of crisis. Right at the moment, we are at home. So one of the a couple of distractions would be, for example, we are on social media. Right, social media we tend to be engaged in that, be it Facebook, you name it, right? Plus, our handphones are the major part of it. We want to quickly, answer, reply certain messages. Now, one of the key things is about trying to understand our lifestyle. Now, each of us, we need to be mindful that we will probably have a different lifestyle. Okay, we may be an individual married with kids. We may be a couple. We may be having elderly people. So I think understanding the context rightly is very important. So each of us may have a slightly different context. So understanding the context is the first thing. Now, number two, once you understand the context, you need to understand the trend of your lifestyle. For example, you're at home. So what are some of the common distractions? Let me give you an example. I've given you an example of maybe, for example, for the younger generation, it could be just handphones, right? Or maybe social media. Now, for the elderly people, it could be, for example, I want to take care of my kids, but at the same time, I want to do well in my report. I want to be efficient in replying my emails. So we need to understand and be very mindful that each of us may have different distractions. And I want to echo what Eugene had just said, where how do you handle the distractions, or as what Mike had said, interruptions. Now, one of the good ways is actually to write down what are some of the common disruptions, quote and unquote, and interruptions, quote and unquote, and try to make a list out of it. Okay, so once you list that out, you probably have to address them mindfully. I give you an example back very simply. So if your disruption or interruption is about trying to be efficient, replying your messages, right? And we tend to do that. We think that it's very efficient by replying. So that is going to disrupt, because when you are doing a report, for example, or when you are handling a particular task, for example, you tend to turn around and try to reply that. Your energy then diverts. So one of the key things about the strategy is about being self-disciplined. Once you identify that, then you need to block off earlier to my point, where you may want to prioritize and say that, look, I have a certain aspect of time, for example, checking emails, checking social media. There would be time that you need to perhaps handle both things. And how do you go about that? Then you need to prioritize that. So in summary, I would say that number one, just to wrap up what I've just said, is understand your context. Note down all the disruptions, and then tackle them with self-discipline.
Okay. So we really need to have the fine differentiation between the different distractions and then be able to address them differently. Yep. That also leads us to the next question. Yep, nicely by Sukumaran. So let's look at his question. Yep. How then do we differentiate between important and urgent matters so as to make informed decision in managing my time?
Right. Okay. Thanks. I think the person who asked is Sukumaran. Right. Thanks for the question. I think this is a very important question to distinguish between what is important and what is urgent. And let me give you a bit of context. If we are unclear, we are not clear about these two terms, and we get confused about these two terms, and then that is going to disrupt. That is going to disrupt and probably affect our time management, or even our energy of how we're going to deal with things. So one of the good things is that in our book, and the second point of our strategy is to prioritize your priorities, right? Prioritize your priorities. So what do I mean by that? So you need to understand what are the clusters of tasks which are urgent, and what are some of the tasks which are vital, which is important, right? So it could be an urgent task, but not important, or it could be important and urgent task. So by prioritizing, right, by prioritizing the task, you are able to actually focus your energy on, for example, something which could be urgent but may not be important, that needs to be addressed immediately. Now, in our book, there's a matrix that we have came out with where it actually helps an individual to reflect on where are your priorities, or where are your priorities. By understanding your priorities and understanding and differentiating between what is important and what are urgent, and then you are able to actually address the task effectively. Let me give you an example, right? Let me give you an example. A very simple example. You have two aspects which are equally, right? Simply, one is urgent, one is important, right? So you are required to finish off a report immediately, then and then within the next half an hour, right? At the same time, it seems to be urgent that you need to address a message, for example, a WhatsApp message, for example. Now you need to probably think and say which one is important. So that is a classification that is based on context, right? Only someone will be able to classify that. So once you classify that that is an urgent, an important task, you address that first. I hope that answers the question. Good question, Sukumar.
Okay. What about Eugene? Do you have anything to add on?
Oh, yes. So thank you, Kumar, for the very interesting points. So Sukumaran, I think you've asked a very important question because this is actually how we prioritize our time, to work on whether the task is important, urgent, or often it's a mix between the two. So let's consider it as two extreme ends. For example, you have a task that is important but not urgent, and you have another task B, that's urgent but totally not important. So how do you actually differentiate them? I'll say that something that is urgent will have some consequences, maybe some near-term consequences, that if you don't do the task, you don't complete the task within the given time frame, the consequences are not good, right? For example, it could be that, for students, right? For example, the deadline for a project submission for exam, purposes could be in 7 days' time. And then you have these 7 days just to finish up the project, to write up, go through the checking and so on. So I would say it's fairly urgent, right? Because you just have a couple of days before you need to submit the paper. Whereas something that's important may not necessarily be urgent. It may be related to something, a long-term goal or a medium-term goal. For example, you might want to, say, pass your IPPT, and 2.4 kilometer run is a problem. So you actually seek to jog 3 times a week, right? At least 2.4 kilometers to build up your fitness 3 months to 6 months before the actual test itself. So, for example, there can be certain days you feel very lazy, you don't want to jog. But if you think about it, it's not urgent. You won't die if you don't jog that day. But if you keep on delaying it, you don't really follow your plan of jogging 3 to 4 times a week to build up your fitness, then towards the IPPT test, when the day comes, it will be very difficult for you to pass the test. So there's something that is so-called important. You have this medium-term or long-term goal in mind, but it's not urgent. So I would think it's vital to actually work on both important tasks as well as urgent tasks in our daily lives, and to try to seek a balance between the two. Because sometimes, a lot of times, the tasks have both elements of urgency and importance. So it's not so clear-cut like what I said.
Thank you for drawing the differentiation between the two. And as what Eugene has said, something that may be important now, but if you don't act on it and you procrastinate, would someday become very urgent. Then you will find that you end up have many urgent tasks on your lap, right?
That's a very good point.
Okay. Hi, Michael. Hi, Suchi. Thanks for joining us. Yep. So we are here together with the two co-authors of the book, Street Smart Strategies for Time Mastery. And they are none other than Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene Tan. And our topic of discussion this evening is time mastery in times of crisis. So if you're feeling very time-starved, very stretched, and you need some solutions, please post your questions in the comment box so that I can invite our authors to respond to you. At the same time, help us to share this video. Yep. And just a reminder, whoever posts question, you'll be eligible for a lucky draw at the end of the session. And we are giving away 3 copies of the book to 3 lucky draw winners. We'll move on to the next question, and that comes from Terence Hong. Terrence's question is, hi, how do you manage deadlines? Dr. Eugene, you want to give it a go?
Okay, thanks, Terence, for the question. I think all of us face deadlines. Sometimes it can be near term, as early as tomorrow, the next day, or it can be a week, a month, a few months later. So how do we go about managing these deadlines? Because they seem to cause a lot of stress in our lives. So there are a couple of approaches. I think one tip is whether, to differentiate whether it's a near-term deadline or whether it's a very far away deadline. If let's say it's a near-term deadline, within a week or within 3 days, then definitely we'll have to focus our efforts on it because it's coming up soon, right? But the problem is with tasks that have a very far away deadline, for example, 3 months or 6 months. So how do we deal with that? I think a very good way to deal with that, these are examples of something that's important but not urgent, right? A very good way to deal with that is to give ourselves an artificial deadline if you want to be more efficient. For example, something that's due in December, right? Currently it's in June, right? So something due in 6 months' time, you might want to give ourselves an artificial deadline to finish it by September, right? And then so that you have more than enough time for checks or even to relax and do other things. You don't have to really rush and become very urgent towards December. And also I find that if you give yourself an artificial deadline, or whether it's a real or artificial deadline, you tend to have a higher energy level, there's more momentum, maybe more stress to actually push yourself to accomplish it, right? So that's what I like about deadlines, whether they're artificial or real.
Okay, thanks for your tip about setting an artificial deadline that is slightly ahead of the real deadline. It's kind of buying time for yourself, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Kumaran, you have anything to add?
Sure. Thanks, Eugene. I think just to echo Eugene's point, plus to add on, I think one of the other way of managing deadlines, to me, I probably would look at it from the perspective of prioritizing the deadlines. I think that's very important because we need to understand that some of the deadlines need more efforts and energy along the way, despite the fact that it could be we may have a longer duration. So to me, I would say that put down the deadlines, right? It could be a simple task of finishing it there. It could be a concurrent or recurring kind of efforts that you need to put in. So once you have touch points on where are your deadlines, and leveraging on Eugene's point, trying to maybe perhaps shift it a few days so that you kind of plan. But I am coming from the perspective of planning it. The reason why you need to put that in that perspective is so that you will be able to direct enough energy. I give you an example, right? There could be 3 reports that you need to complete, right? One of it could be a humongous report that needs 30 pages, that is 2 months in time. Another one could be in 2 weeks' time, where it is a 7-pager report, and perhaps something which is in 2 days. Now, despite the fact that all these are in there and deadlines will keep coming in, from a practical point of view, it is not going to stop, right? It's going to come in. So once you plan that and review and try to prioritize them, you'll be able to reprioritize them as you go along. You are able to block off the energy and try to put your energy in that perspective consistently to achieve the eventual goal. So to summarize, I would say that you need to prioritize your deadlines, self-check, be self-aware of the recurring deadlines that is coming in practically, because it probably will come in, and how are you able to manage that effectively?
Thanks for that. Yep. So in a situation where there are many competing deadlines, because of different people who want us to complete certain tasks, in your book, you also mentioned that sometimes we do need to learn how to say no tactfully. Would you like to share with us how can we do that without hurting the other party?
No, very good question, Kokwa. I think this is always a very important question, because I think the fundamental aspect is that we want to value relationship. You don't want to be aggressive by saying no, or probably unintentionally to say no, that it kind of offend people, right? So the fundamental which is about relationship. But at the same time, I think one of the very important things is that if you care about yourself and about the other party, you probably, in order for you to say no, you have to be authentic. You can be authentic. You can give an explanation to them and tell them exactly why you're unable to commit at the moment. But also, if you're keen in that task, assuming you're keen in the task, you do not want to brush it away, you can always tell them that right now I have a couple of tasks on the plate. I love to probably commit, you can ask them to come back 6 months later, probably to revisit this. So you are able to have a balance because number one, you are very authentic. People will respect you because you are a person who are actually focusing on quality. You want to make sure that you value your commitment because you want to give a good deliverable. At the same time, you are also telling that, look, I'll probably I may be interested, but I want to revisit it later again.
Okay, so sometimes it's not really a no, it is just not yet. So in a way, if the other party is agreeable, you can then have an extension of the deadline. And that's how you can then manage competing deadlines, right? Thanks for that. I'll go on to the next question. So for those who have just joined us, hi Annie, hi Sokia, thanks for joining us. If you have any questions for our guest author this evening on the topic of time mastery in times of crisis, please post your question in the comment box so that I could invite them to answer the question. Next, we have a question from Michelle. Michelle's question is, what happens if your colleagues or family deem as urgent important is not the urgent important to you? So I think, different interpretation of a task, what is urgent and important to you may not be urgent and important to other people or vice versa. How do you then ensure that they are on a common page? Dr. Eugene, you want to give it a shot?
Okay, so Michelle, this is a very interesting question, I'll say. I suppose you're referring to a shared task or something that is shared between two parties, could be yourself and a family member, or maybe yourself and a colleague. So that's why you may have different views on that task in terms of the importance and urgency. So just recently, a couple of weeks ago, sharing from my own experience, right? My father asked me to help him to renew our domestic helpers application online. It was actually due in 1 month, on the MOM website. I mean, I can do it online easily. I mean, to him, he sounded very, urgent. He doesn't want to miss the deadline. He wants me to do it very early. But to me, I thought, wow, the deadline is 1 month away. Why do I have to do it now? But I noted it down and maybe I can do it anytime. So, but the thing is, the next day, I haven't done it, right? So he will ask me again, have you done it? Because it's like very urgent to him. So I rationalized to myself, I thought, it's a very easy task. I just need about 5 minutes to complete it. Why don't I just do it? And then he won't keep asking me about it. That will actually save a lot more time, reduce stress, and whole family will be happier. So I think it's something that's very easy. You can just do it and complete it so that everybody will be happy. But if it's a very complex task, you can break it up into smaller chunks and work on it along the way. Don't just totally ignore it, because you have to also appreciate the other party's perspective, right? We can have different views of the same situation, and we should respect each other's views and try to work towards a common solution.
Okay, thank you for that. And Dr. Kumaran, how would you handle such situations?
Right. I think it's a very, very practical question that we all are facing, right? In and out. So, first of all, it's about when you are in a kind of a team perspective or family perspective. We need to understand that what is seen from our perspective compared to another family member, for example, may differ. So this is where because we are wearing different, we are actually taking on different roles. So you could be a son to a mother, you can be a dad to a kid. So each of their perspective come into place. So it is important for us to put that in play in front and try to weigh. You literally have to list it down, right? Need to acknowledge those tasks. And sometimes the family member, for example, buying grocery, a very simple example to illustrate, right? It could be seen to be urgent. Obviously, if you don't buy grocery on time, okay, you can't have food on the table. Someone has to cook, right? Now, when is it to be done? You may have something very urgent that needs to be done today. Now, at the same time, you need to prioritize this and try to weigh a balance where that's where you need to list down the roles from your perspective, what you need to do, and from the needs from others. And that becomes a list again. So sometimes we forget that we are not only playing one role. Okay, when we are playing one role, we have a list of items that is urgent and non-important. That's one list. There's only one cluster. But remember, when you get back home, you may be wearing multiple roles, right? Wearing multiple hats. Then you have another list of important and urgent. Now, it is your responsibility to put everything together and have the clustering done again, which is what I call as what is important, what is urgent again. Then you are able to manage that effectively.
Right. Okay. Interesting. Yep. So, I mean, yeah, all of us have got multiple roles that we wear, and because of that, it comes with its multiple lists. So your idea is that it's our responsibility to really put them together and be able to reprioritize them. That leads us nicely to the next question by Lindy. Yeah. Lindy asks, we have this impression, contrary to the impression that work from home arrangement can bring work-life balance. It seems to be inherent that many face difficulties today in the demarcation of work from life. What you just spoke about earlier about we wear different hats, we have different roles, we have our life, we have our work. So she's asking do you have any useful tips to handle such situation?
Yeah, thanks, Lindy. I think this is a very practical challenge that we have, especially in current context. So one of the very useful, and I think I've tried it myself, is basically going back to my earlier point where you need to be able to be self-disciplined, where you need to block off, right, literally your time. Now, that seems to be simple, but it may not be easy because we are wearing different rules. But one of it is actually to stick very closely, if it's possible, really, unless it is emergency. And I think by and large, it is possible when we actually cater the blocks of time. The reason why I say that is that if you are able to tentatively plan the block of time, especially when we are at home, we tend to actually stay in front of the computer, glued our eyes to the computer, and tends to reply emails and get to work and try to multitask. And that may not be effective. And that's where we lose our work-life balance. Right? So it is even more important right now, especially in the current context, that you literally have to have a plan. For example, the first half of the day, you want to really get involved in work. Okay, good. How about getting the afternoon, 2 hours to spend time with kids and quality time? And during that time, perhaps you may have to prioritize, unless it's really urgent, to address certain things. Now, again, I want to be very mindful, and I don't want to give a very general advice because we need to be quite mindful that each of us have our varying context. We are operating from a different complex context. But what I'm trying to put across is that understanding this complexity, if you are able to draw out, by and large, a block of plan. Now, of course, you may need to try to understand very carefully what are your complex situations and try to have this framework in mind. I think that is going to be very helpful.
Okay. And Dr. Eugene Tan, are you working from home this period of time, or do you have to go to National Skin Center?
Oh yeah, I still have to go to the clinic every day. So I think Kumar has been working from home during the so-called circuit breaker period. For me, I mean, the schedule is about the same. I still go to the clinic every day, see patients. And very interestingly, on this topic, because I asked a lot of my patients, how have they been recently? So, some of them are working from home. And some of them actually, they tell me they are very productive. They like working from home because they save a lot of time traveling to and fro from home to office, especially if they live very far away. I think that's why maybe perhaps Lindy has said a work from home arrangement can bring about work-life balance. Maybe because of the time savings, so you have more time to do other things in your life, personal life. Perhaps that's one way to look at it. But on the other hand, a lot of people have difficulties. They tell me it's actually very difficult, especially those with young children at home, where they have to supervise their learning from home kind of arrangements, submit homework online, doing live lessons with the teacher. So a lot of supervision is needed, and these parents find that they have difficulty balancing work and childcare, kind of supervising their children. So I think it can be difficult, especially when we're all not used to it. But fortunately, I think this is temporary, and as we get used to this arrangement, slowly the children are going back to school. So we don't have to worry about them at home. We can actually focus on our work if you're working from home. So I think the situation will improve and will gradually adapt to it because all of us are in different situations with different working requirements.
It is, yeah. I mean, right now it's really a strange time where people are both working from home and kids are studying from home, and hence the amount of tasks that's being imposed on parents is actually unprecedented, I guess. Yeah, and therein lies the importance of time mastery. We have a question from Michelle.
Mm.
Michelle asked about, do you complement time management alongside with energy management? Dr. Kumaran?
Okay. Thanks, Michelle, for asking the question. Yes, indeed, because energy management is, if you look at a 24 hours per day, right? And we reflect very carefully. One of the very important things that we need to understand is that we tend to we tend to be energetic at a certain time frame. Let me give you an example. Right? Very early in the morning, and for myself, when I write, and because my profession requires me to write, right? Write books and write papers. So I would have to find a particular time where I'm able to have my fullest energy. All right, when I say fullest energy, you feel very motivated and you get a lot of energy in there. So for me, it's the very early wee hours, right? Now, obviously, when I say that, so the question will come into place that do you get enough sleep? Now, this is where you need to manage your time, where your planning comes into place. Now, you need to find where is your energy and where is your peak of your energy? Where is your kind of like, inflow and, mediocre, moderate type of energy? And where is your energy that you are being drained out probably, right? Probably is towards the end of the day, maybe, for example, especially for those in the current situation that they have to deal with kids and so on and so forth. But what I'm trying to put across here is that it is very important to understand our time management so that we can give our fullest effort and we can optimize our energy at the right time for the right amount of work. For example, when I talk about non-peak hours, there always be non-peak hours where kids could be sleeping, for example, or resting, for example. You may be mentally tired, for example. So that is off-peak hours. So what do you do in those times? And that is where your planning comes into place. And I'm not talking about planning every single thing. Things do change every day, right? But what I'm trying to put across is having an ecosystem of framework so that you are able to put your energy in the right basket and you are able to manage it well.
Okay. Dr. Eugene, what about yourself? How do you manage this thing of your energy, and when are you most energetic?
So Kok Wah, I think Michelle has asked a brilliant question because energy management is actually one of the secrets to time mastery, right? It's one of the very important secrets, and Kumar has elaborated on it very well. If I may just add on, it's first of all important to find out, to do a so-called energy audit, to find out, personally where are we most energetic, and want to do the most high value task, the most difficult task, often the so-called high importance task during the period when we are most energetic. For different people, it could be different.
Yes.
For me, I find that, for example, from 8 to 10, I'm fairly energetic, but at 10 o'clock onwards, PM onwards, I tend to be a little bit more tired. And then I may fall asleep, or sometimes there's something important to do. I just force myself to stay awake, but I know I'll be tired after 10 p.m. In the morning, sometimes if I wake up too early, like 5 a.m., I'll be very tired. But I think 6 plus a.m., 7 a.m., I'm fine. So we want to do the most important task when we're most energetic. And from a student's point of view, all right, you want to actually study the most difficult subjects at the time when you're most energetic. For example, if you're very good in mathematics, but not so good in English, you might want to actually write your English essay, don't do your English work when you're high energy levels. And then when you're in the so-called lower energy levels, for example, in the afternoon, maybe after lunch, you can do the easy task of doing problem sums or mathematics questions because that's very easy for you, and you don't need a lot of energy for that.
Wow, okay. That's really a useful tip for our parents who are viewing right now. Yep, how can you actually help your kids maybe to do an energy audit, and then from there, help them to plan their revision time such that they will spend their most energetic hours on the tougher subject and vice versa. Yep. Well, hi Daryl, hi Sam, hi Ram, thanks for joining us. Hi Shannon as well. Yep, we are now with Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene Tan. They are both the co-author for the book Street Smart Strategies for Time Mastery. Yep, we're almost coming to the end of the program. So we will take in one more question. Yep, before we end. And let me see. Okay, one of a very common disease that we suffer from, other than the current virus, COVID virus, and this disease is none other than procrastination disease. Okay, so Lindy is asking, how can we best manage and overcome procrastination? Dr. Kumaran, what would you say?
Okay, good. I think it's really an important question. Lindy, thanks for asking that. Now, procrastination, we tend to have this, as human beings, tends to have this habitual that, okay, let's do it tomorrow, or let's do it 2 hours later, or just wait and do it later. Now, I think one of the very important thing is, again, when a task comes in, we need to identify what is needed to be done, right? Now, I think it's very important for us to act on it, depending on, as I said, whether you prioritize that as important or urgent. But I think putting it down and having a kind of a deadline. For example, it could be a very simple thing like click a button, right, and trying to reply something, and it's important, and you do it immediately. And immediate could also mean, okay, within 2 or 3 days, I need to have that done. Right? So I think what is important of procrastination is really committing ourselves an internal deadline, right? To act on it and prioritize it, and in such a way that we are able to act. I think that the problem here is that we tend to have too many things, and we say we will act on it, right? And we lost touch of what we are required to do, right? So I think it's important for us to pen it down. Have an internal deadline. For example, it could even be, you may not need to reply it before 3 weeks, but put it down. Like, for example, I need to reply this within 3 weeks. So I do that personally, and it's very, very useful, because what happens is that there will be a lot of do lists that need to be done. Now, again, when I do that, some of it that you do not need to reply it, but I have an internal deadline to review it and revisit it and probably address it as the time goes by. So I think that would solve the procrastination part of it. And I think it's an habitual thing. Let me just add on a bit more. I think it's an habitual thing. So in order for us to come out from this cycle, you need to practice. It's not about just, first is getting it in our mind, and then practicing it. Literally practicing it, it will really help.
Okay. And Dr. Eugene, how do you overcome procrastination?
Yes. So Lindy, I think it's a brilliant question, right? Because procrastination is something, it's almost like I would say it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes it can be very useful if you have plans to, for example, buy a luxury item, very expensive. Sometimes it's good to procrastinate because, the money may be better spent somewhere else. But on the other hand, if we have an important task to do and we're procrastinating, then it's not very good, because if you keep putting it off, sooner or later we won't achieve our goal. Or either that the task becomes very urgent and it gives you a lot of stress in your life, which is not healthy. Maybe I'll just state an example. For example, if I want to go jogging, all right, a short jog to stay healthy, to keep fit, I find that sometimes I may procrastinate, right? And I think of all kinds of reasons why I don't want to go for that jog. Maybe I just jogged 2 days ago or 1 day ago, or maybe the weather, the sky looks a bit dark and maybe it's going to rain soon. Oh, it's too sunny, too hot, I don't want to jog now. Or why don't I do it another day? I mean, I can, check my Facebook now, watch my YouTube videos, do other things that will make me happier, right? So there's so many reasons that go through my head. But I find that this 1 minute rule is very important, which is what we talk about in our book. We just have to, it's actually based on the principle of momentum. So you have to generate momentum in order to get yourself moving. And for this 1 minute rule, in this current example of jogging, what I can do is to quickly tell yourself, okay, I'll just spend 1 minute to put on my gear, change the running attire, put on my shoes, and I'll go out. Right? I think once you step out of the house and maybe start a few steps of jogging, it's very hard to stop. Right? It will be very strange and very
Yes.
or if you just turn back and go back home, after you're outside jogging for a few steps. But once you're there for a few steps, you can just keep on jogging, and maybe complete your 1-2 kilometers or 5 kilometers of running, right? So often the initial inertia is something that we need to overcome, and we need to generate a lot of momentum. So this 1 minute rule is useful. Don't just give yourself 1 minute to start on it and then just move on from there.
Thanks for sharing the 1 minute rule. Yeah. So most of the time, the what is holding us back is really this inertia. And once we can take the first step, then we can sustain this momentum to get moving, rather than always procrastinating. Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene. And so that's about the time we have this evening to respond to your questions. My apologies if we can't address all the questions that you have posed, but please feel free to get in touch with either Dr. Kumaran or Dr. Eugene through the email or through the website which they have created for their book as well. Okay. And next, let's move on. Yeah, a quick announcement. Next Thursday, which is on 18th of June, our episode 8 for Hello, I'm an Author, Ask Me Anything, we're going to invite Alex Butt. Alex is the author of a CEO, an entrepreneur, a tourist, and the monk. Okay, so the topic we're going to discuss is finding happiness in times of crisis. All right, so remember to join us next Thursday at the same time, 8 p.m. So before we end, leave your feedback, continue to leave your feedback for us in the comment box. We would love to hear what you think of our session. Help us to share this video so that your friends can watch the replay. Likes would encourage us. And if you need to purchase any book, including Dr. Kumaran's and Dr. Eugene's book, Street Smart Strategies for Time Mastery, you can pick it up off candycreation.com. Okay, so lastly, I want to thank all of you for spending your time with us this evening, learning together. All this learning would not be possible without you actively posing questions so that we can invite Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene to share their expertise and insights with us. And I also want to thank Dr. Kumaran and Dr. Eugene for really spending your very precious evening with us. I know Dr. Eugene still have to go to work at National Skin Center. Dr. Kumaran probably has many papers to write to get published, and yet you're spending this time with us. Thank you very much for your very useful tips. Any parting words for our viewers?
Okay, I'll start with. I just want to finish off this segment by just a quote that I thought would be useful, right? So time is a vital capital, investable resource that needs to be managed mindfully and effectively to achieve success and happiness. So just 2 or 3 sentences on that. I think if we look at it, all of us want to be happy and successful. So happiness, right? Mental well-being. So managing our time and energy well will eventually enable us to reach the happiness. I think that's a fundamental that we all aspiring to probably attain. So I just want to finish off with that quote and just the 2 statements. So I also would like to thank all of the participants, involvement, and Kokwa for hosting us, right? And I'll pass to Eugene for his words.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kumar. Yeah, so thanks, Kokwa, once again for inviting us to this session. Thank you very much. And I wanted to thank all the participants. You've been wonderful with your questions. And also, I see the very interesting exchanges, very educational. We all learn from each other. So if I may summarize, all right, what is important to me, what I go by is always by these quotes. I would like to do the right thing first, all right, as much as possible. The right thing, I'll do it first. And I would like to do it fast as well. So I don't want to spend too long doing it. I want to do it fast. So I do the right things first and I do them fast. I think that works very well for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your final insights for our viewers. All right, so I'll see you next week on Thursday, 8 p.m. on the topic of finding happiness in times of crisis. All right, so good night, everyone. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye. Good night. Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.